Um, just for everybody's information, this is a workshop, so therefore no board business will in fact be conducted. And just to let you know that we're not going to vote on it. The whole point of the workshop is just to provide you with our experience and any expertise that we may have concerning your application. With that, I'll turn it over to you and you can tell us what it is that you, well, I guess the first thing, if you could just update everybody about the facade facing Lund Terrace, because that was.
Sure. Yeah. A question from sort of before I kick off. Sure. So good morning. Excited to be good. I've been pushing a little bit hard lately. Good evening, and I'm pleased to be here. My name is Brian Tormey, and thank you all for calling and attending a special meeting. I really appreciate the workshop time and your evening time. So thank you. Quick updates on sort of status of the building, including the East or Lund Terrace side. There's a little bit of a delay. As I mentioned before, the contractor obtained the wrong windows by just accident in sort of the ordering. They finally arrived, but they were the wrong windows. We have rushed the order of the correct windows. And so we're going to, that at first we thought was going to happen, they were going to deliver a little bit more quickly, and then it's not, supply chain issues, etc. And so we're going to install the incorrect windows, knowing that we will then replace them back out, but just so we can keep the building envelope sealed, especially as we get into what it feels a little spring-like right now, but we know we will get back to deep winter again. And he then is proceeding with all of the sort of like siding. Most of it we are trying to keep as we have done on the other three sides, repair a lot of siding, but this side had more degradation in the siding, and so there's more boards that we're going to be replacing, but as with the other sides, we're matching sort of the historic spec of the board. And so we're proceeding with doing the siding updates. We've moved the outlets, the sort of exterior outlets, shifted those down. There is one or two sides where just Hudson Design didn't update the location of them on the drawings, but we're physically doing them there. And I shot back the note, they just didn't give me the updated drawings in time for tonight to show the changes from the last HDRB sort of process. So we're proceeding with the East Lund Terrace side.
Okay, thank you.
In line with the approvals from the meeting 6 weeks ago, something like that.
Right. Can you tell us what it is that we're reviewing in this workshop?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So, and Todd, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share on screen what I'm doing, what I'm showing here yeah, I'm muted here. Right there. Muted. I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to share this.
How's the rain out in California?
We actually had a lot of rain over the end of the year and New Year's, but now we're back to sunshine and 80 degrees. Sorry, guys. I would have my camera on, but it says camera's disabled for participants or something.
Right. Well, as long as you can see what
I don't know if we want to see sunny and 80s. Do we want to see?
Yeah. I'm outside too, so it's probably better to just I'll stay hidden. But yes, I can see this. I can see what you're sharing, Brian.
Great. And I'll attempt to both point here for you all and sort of mouse point for Todd here on the screen. But Todd, I'll do that as needed. I think a lot of what I'll verbally describe you'll find a mouse point. So broadly speaking, what you see in front of you here at first is just the sort of floor plan layout of the building, first floor. I will point out what is included in this drawing is the deck at the rear of the property. That is a future thing that I'm not seeking HDRB approval, certificate of appropriateness, et cetera, right now, but I do want to remain transparent about some of the things I'm going for in sort of like the long term of the building. Correct. The one at the south side of the building is for a later point in time. That being said, during the workshop today, I thought to bring it and still collect thoughts, advice, guidance, expertise, as you
Right.
said. So I wanted to sort of still put it out there, but the COA application that I've drafted and delivered to Abigail and sort of everybody on that thread and the building permit all focuses on the front side, the main street or north side of the building. So to the left side of your drawing, Todd. And the
Okay.
request is to build a porch here along the front of Main Street, as well as I'll sort of get into the door detail here in a couple minutes, but essentially update the doors while still retaining their historic current look and feel. And I'll sort of explain what that means in a few minutes. And that's really, that's the extent of the plan. Currently, the section to my property border goes to sort of like the edge of this bluestone walkway on the east side towards Lawn Terrace is the current property line. I am in a discussion with the village about access to some of the rest of this area, and we're sort of working through some of the engineering stuff because my plan is to extend this section of the deck and bluestone so that it comes around and fully meets the sidewalk at a level that allows it to be fully handicap accessible, neutral grade. Because sort of in this magic way, the grade from the handicap ramp here at the crosswalk intersection is like perfectly level with the floor of the inside of the building. And so I'll be able to create sort of maybe there's minor there, like 1 inch across 30, 40 feet, but like extremely minor grade access to the building from the sidewalk here. The current building permit and the current COA application is for what is still to my property border, which is the bluestone paper here and the deck along the front side of the building, which includes 2 steps here and a hatch for access to the basement. Sort of essentially under the deck lift up will be what you often see in New York City is sort of like those vault style access doors. And we have a couple here in Main Street as well. But sort of at the deck level, etc. And then for the doors, any questions so far on scope?
Will this be handicap accessible in the back?
That is the plan. Great question. So the plan actually is to, by using this walkway, and that's why this extension is here, is to actually allow and create this whole space as that as well. And the grade of the floor is the same through the whole floor. So this deck and this all become, and with this small extension up here to this section of sidewalk, Todd, I'm gesturing up towards the crosswalk.
Okay.
With a little extension of the paving to come up and connect with the sidewalk up here, it becomes grade neutral from here all the way around to the rear porch.
Got it.
Which, just speaking openly, for me, like I want to go do things in a way that, like, I don't think I have a code requirement to go do that, but I think it is the right thing to do for the community, and so I want to try and go do the things. So I've tried to design this in a way that creates that as a third space that is achieving these kind of accessibility. So any other questions on scope or things before I get into some of a little bit more of the detail areas? And I've got elevations if we want as well.
Well, I guess the door to that one.
Yep, yeah, I can get into that. So as you all have probably walked around and sort of seen, there are 2 historic wooden doors that are hinged sort of on both sides. Currently, they hinge and swing to the inside of the building, to the interior of the building. And my proposal is to switch the hinge direction so that they sit on the outside edge and hinge. And that's what these larger arcs are, is swing around to the outside of the building. And then install a more classic glass storefront tempered glass door. And I've got some specs and stuff I can show inside, essentially inset into the wall, so that the large doors are not the doors that people are using on a coming in and out of the store, right? And keeping the temperature controlled air pocket of the bakery inside, but instead they are more decorative doors that are closed when not in use and opened when open. And then the glass doors are the in and out use. but we still sort of kept the historic doors, and they need some TLC. But that's the plan, is to give them the TLC and keep them, and they have a pretty, just being honest, like sort of a beat up look to. I mean, they've seen some wear, but that's the patina, and that is what we're going to plan to sort of keep for the building. And this allows us to create that high efficiency sort of insulated air pocket while still keeping the historic doors as sort of the connective tissue with the outside world.
Are there going to be any other changes to the, because if I remember correctly,
Mhm.
when we last approved the work that you're currently doing,
Mhm.
that wasn't included in it.
The doors,
Yeah.
correct.
So are there any other changes which are above and beyond what was already approved?
The only other one, which sort
The deck,
Huh?
all the deck.
No,
Yeah.
and it's not, you can't see it here, but I plan to put I think the other one is, like things like railing detail
Right.
and some stone veneer detail. So those are part of this, but we haven't sort of gotten to that part of the details yet.
Right.
But no other meaningful sort of big chunky bits anticipated.
All right. Let's get into the details.
Okay, great. I mean, so I sort of described the current existing historic doors and how those will be swung. I will switch images here. I'm gonna stop sharing that one. Let me go make sure I've got the other one open. It's this one. Do this one first. Here, share. Okay. Yep. So, pardon me. You're welcome to look either at like cutting it off, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That didn't do it. Yeah, I think you can sort of
Okay.
get a sense, and Todd, you can. So
Yeah.
the color is slightly off on this. It'll be to match the trim, so sort of using white as instead of the sort of silver or pure metal extruded aluminum look. But this is an example, and I've got the spec sheets that I can go through as well of the kind of doors that would be in place, set just inside the historic doors as the glass entrance doors.
Sorry, the historic doors would remain open most of the time, and the
Mhm.
glass doors would be what we see day to day.
During business hours, yeah.
So the historic doors would be used and shut every
Mhm.
day?
That's sort of that's the plan, and at least with Ken and Angie, the discussion with them, like that's part of what they want to create is that it's a working building.
Do you have elevations?
Yeah, I do. And I have specs on the door if we want. So pull this aside. Switch back over for Todd to bring him along with us. Okay, here we go. And then Todd, make sure, yeah, this is the correct one. Todd, you're seeing that? Yeah, I think he is. We see it. So to sort of anchor you here, we're at the top, we're looking at the north side. Same door, you can sort of see here the steps that face into the door that are very similar to the steps that are there now. And yep, and a little sort of planter to the one side, and the railing picks up on the right side of the door and runs the length. The railing does sort of drop down for where the Bilco door is presently. So there will be decking across the top that will lift up when needed to access the Bilco door. And I'm trying to describe this correctly. And then this gate will open so that we essentially, so it's sort of a metal gate that will swing open so that the Bilco doors can be accessed for in and out deliveries.
Do you have photographs of the existing front facade?
Probably it looks like one just got handed to.
All right, so you're adding two windows on either side of
No,
the,
those are the doors.
Those are the ones that are there now, and those are the ones that, these two
right,
are the ones that are there now.
yeah,
And being under the last HDRB process, we sort of finalized what the spec is on those
right.
and things. Yep,
No, I'm talking about those two, yeah.
these two. So those are the rendering here, and no, no slight on Hudson Design, great architects, but the rendering here is sort of like she's attempting to capture the historic doors being shown as open. That's what the drawing is attempting to display. That is what we will be doing in reality, is taking the existing doors and just mounting them so they now swing, as shown on the last plan, sort of swing outward instead of swinging inward.
So there are no additional windows.
No, correct. This is just those two doors shown swung open,
Okay.
and then the glass door on the inside. And I will mention this and sort of put it forward, like we can leave the doors on the inside and swinging inside, the historic doors. The rationale for putting them on the outside is keeping them to be part of the display that is sort of the facade of the building. And that allows them to be, to your question, a bit like operated, like actually used versus inside, then the furniture will sort of get set in front of them and they'll be semi-permanently open, versus being closed at night, in this fashion.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about the railing and the deck?
Yep. So the plan is to do, sort of a classic, it's I've seen on a lot of things here, sort of a 4-inch standard board, deck, along the full length of, Main Street, with, a fascia board and then, stone, veneer in front, real stone, not faux or manufactured stone. What's shown here, and I've sort of looked at some other things around the village and things, I'm open. There's quite a number of stone choices out there. Like there's a lot. I'm very open to anything that the board members might think or suggest or direct me towards. The one presently sort of selected is an ashlar stone veneer. I can swap to some photographs of it as well if needed, but it's a grayish stone, cut into blocks that is done as a veneer that matches, in my opinion, a lot of sort of what we see, in a not uniform shaped block style, in other locations where we see same lot.
Is there any remnant of the existing foundation that is stone? Because I feel like a brick probably would have been more common. Do
Sure.
you see stone elsewhere in the building as the foundation?
It is cinder block.
The entirety of it, so it was all redone. Yeah, okay.
It's cinder block, with the exception of the east side along Lund Terrace. Below grade is brick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd be open to a brick, front as well if that.
Well, I think certainly brick is an option. I would assume that the reason you have brick on the east side is how about the front, the front part?
Here.
Yeah, there,
Cinder block as well still.
cinder block also.
Sorry, I maybe shouldn't have diverted your conversation to that at this point. If you want to just continue and then everybody have comments afterwards, that might make more sense. Sorry about that.
Well, no, I mean, don't worry about it, Todd. We'll, all right. Okay, how about the railing? What's the railing?
So and this plan doesn't have the railing detail. It's the same as the railing detail I did show in the prior application, and I can go pull it up here. Wrought iron railing. It's a 1.5-inch type, small, thin, with there's a little bit of curling detail to the top rail piece, and square rectilinear, vertical posts, with a bottom rail.
Do you have it, for the future, will there be any railings on the back deck?
There would be, yep. Now, so the back deck, the way it's drawn and what I had contemplated was a more modern, horizontal, stretched stainless steel cable approach to the back. But again, I'm open to direction and suggestion.
Okay,
I will admit, I haven't really gotten deep into sort of this. But broadly speaking, it is still what we're planning. But I'm very open to direction and suggestion. So if, there's a preference towards matching the railing and carrying it, I don't think there's maybe like one or two spots where you maybe could see both at the same time. Sort of if you were like standing in this driveway with your back into the trees a bit, you could maybe sort of see both at the same time. But otherwise, I'm happy to be pretty flexible.
yeah, because, am I correct that there's, one off to the side? Isn't there a driveway?
There's a pretty skinny driveway to the west side of the building.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because, in passing it, there are a lot of trucks in the back right now.
Mhm.
And so, and that's probably the only way to, so, well, the issue is that, as the visibility is primarily, for people walking off of the station platform and walking to Main Street.
Mhm.
Okay,
Which you can't really see the back, from principally from because of that vegetation. You can't see the back until you walk down the what is this building, sort of like little mini driveway.
all right. Other thoughts?
I have some comments. To start, just to kind of reiterate about the foundation, I do think a brick foundation would be way more appropriate than a stone veneer for something like this. Um, the the steps that kind of lead from the sidewalk up the to the basement Bilko doors, I feel like that area needs some refinement. I'm not quite sure what, but just to kind of kick off commentary here. Another thing I do kind of like the idea of I like the idea of using the historic doors, changing the use. One comment on that is if they are currently in swinging, you're definitely going to need to build out the framework quite a lot to accommodate them being converted to outswing. So we would probably want to see what that looks like, because if that's being done on the exterior of the building, so that the glass doors can be installed where the current ones are, that'll, that needs to be discussed. I think that if we were, I don't like the idea of aluminum or any kind of brushed metal, raw metal look on the storefront doors. I really do not think that's appropriate at all. I think they should be, if that is what kind of the direction this goes, I think that they should be black or dark bronze in coloration. I think aluminum would really stick out like a sore thumb. And the other is so were you saying that you're proposing that the railing around this new front patio is to be wrought iron?
Correct.
I don't really think wrought iron would be appropriate for this building. I obviously invite everybody else's comments on that, but this is a very plain building, very little ornamentation. You've got the cornice is kind of about it. It is pretty stark. So I feel like introducing a wrought iron railing would really just not appropriate the way that a very simple wood kind of railing would be. That's kind of my thought on that. In the rear, I feel differently, but for that front facade, I don't think a wrought iron, especially with any kind of turned spindles, would work. So that's my initial thoughts.
You did best. I've got a few tidbits to go through with those. Is that okay if I sort of chime in and go through those?
Sure.
On the brick, I have a handful. I'm more than happy to orient that way, subject to sort of like broader total commentary. If that's the direction, I have a few questions just around pointing and style of device. So I've got some sub questions there. On the Bilco door access detail, happy to get into it. Those aren't steps in the front, and maybe I can sort of point this out. So it's if we're looking at from the top down, the deck is flush the whole way.
Oh, okay.
And then if we sort of go back here, this section here is a gate essentially that can be opened. So it can be swung open in the railing style. And so if you sort of picture that this front vertical gate swings open and the deck lifts up, and then you can access the basement Bilco doors, but they're otherwise essentially hidden from view, and you just see the deck with the front. And if we're switching to a wooden piece, I'll come to the railing in a second here, but sort of we would, maybe this front piece is sort of like wood lattice work, as we see sort of at the front side of porch under railings in plenty of places as well.
Yeah, I think that could be. I think it would work better if that was visually called out, rather than trying to kind of blend it in with the rest of the railing when it's not. It's a
that is
utilitarian
different.
feature that, that I don't know exactly how that looks, but I think maybe there's a more fun
Different.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets a little bit more flexible if we pivot railing to wood. Then what we do on the bottom half of it gets a little bit more flexible than the top half.
Right.
Of what we'll call this the sort of Bilco door gate. So open to that, and we can sort of go around the whole table and get other perspectives on that.
Yeah, Lauren.
I think this building gets a special consideration because it's like the first building you see when you come off the train.
Yeah.
And it is a very old building. Like the original part is, I think, what would we see from like the 1840s? And I don't believe it ever had a porch, based on what we've seen so far, which is fine. I'm wondering, so this becomes the main access point to the bakery, and this is the access point to everything that's upstairs.
Right.
So
And,
on
yeah.
the plan, you have
Oh, yeah.
so this is the door, like what's happening here. So this is an entrance door that you can also access.
You can also access it. This is going to revert back, and some of this has to do with just the tenant's preferences. At first, they wanted flow through with a door here. We're going to keep that door there. We're now going to revert to there was a door here. We're going to keep the door there. Tenants' internal flow preferences.
And I also agree that accessibility is important. I'm wondering though, however, if how many accessible entrances do you need on a building, and if one at the rear is sufficient, so that we can maintain as close to the historic facade and functionality of the building as possible. So those are things that I'm thinking about. I feel strongly about the proposed doors, the brushed aluminum doors. Partly because even if they're open, and let's just say they're gonna be open a
Mhm.
lot,
Mhm.
it kind of messes with the proportions of everything,
Mhm.
you know, that kind of like gets over into this part of the building and you're kind of not seeing this as an addition anymore in the same way because it sort of, as you pointed out, kind of reads as new, as glazing there. So I don't know if you guys have ever thought about kind of eliminating this. I don't know, having it so just one opens and you have a door that kind of recedes a little more, or, and then eliminating this, because there's quite a lot of seating back there.
In the back.
Yeah,
So
and
that,
I know you just brought the property in front, so
Mhm.
I don't know if that was because of the door swing or if it's solely because of the extra seating area.
well, and really to make this the entrance,
Mhm.
as opposed to trying to come through with come through what is a very it can be
Mhm.
uncomfortable sort of flow pattern, try to actually enter the space. It's not really like a two people passing at once kind of situation.
I think that's going to be a very, um, I think that's going to be very confusing for people who are entering the building. The natural point to enter the building is exactly that, assuming this is you're talking about this to the 2 steps up to that proposed deck right there, that is going to be where people enter. And if that door is there as a kind of an entrance, but then they want to use this other one, you know, you're going to have to start introducing signage on the building, sit with arrows saying enter over here. Um, don't,
And there's an entrance at the rear too, right? I mean,
Not presently.
what's this?
I mean, the doors are there. Yeah, I'm sorry. This porch deck is subject to, I sort of still have to go through expanded use, like other approvals before I can get back to you for this.
But the plan is to have a rear entrance and additional seating at the back.
In the coming
Within
years,
acceptable.
but not near term.
But the rear entrance, you'd have to go down this path like that to get there.
If, yeah, if you're on, if you need to, otherwise you could enter that way.
So originally, this was an addition with a stable and a hay barn over top of it. I mean, from what I'm seeing, the utility was of the
Yeah,
building.
you're talking about the sloped roof on the side, right?
Yeah, and there's a little hatch there to load hay.
I don't think it was for hay. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I
it could-
think because there's still evidence of now is sort of essentially they were bringing in very heavy equipment. So this whole west side is all I think it's 2x8
Mhm.
on their end, essentially laminated the entire length of the floor.
There's like a
Um,
gantry crane.
And so I don't know that technical term, but I think yes. And there's a whole bunch of overhead sort of equipment, much of which all that came with the building, I'm keeping in place inside the building to sort of honor its past. So I don't think it was hay, only
So it was.
I think it's for sort of like winching very heavy things into. And the history of the building was reworking a whole bunch of, trains and other machining kind of things inside the building.
A machine shop.
Yeah. And I've got some pretty cool old photos of like train engines that were being cleaned and prepped to go to the Smithsonian, like inside here from, all kinds of cool stuff.
I mean, is it just thinking about what everyone else has been saying about the historic building and its simplicity and how the building was used and this current proposal and what egress would look like. It's a good point that you do naturally want to come in this door and were this deck to be, occupied by tables or people hanging out over it. I'm not sure what the programmatic expectations are. Then these doors would become very hard to access. And so it feels like if the back porch is accommodating some of that outdoor program in the future, I feel like it is worth a discussion about this front primary door for the first floor, maybe not being ADA accessible and having stairs directly down and forgoing the porch and sort of the intricacies that come along with it. if that would make for a cleaner facade.
So I've noodled, well, or more comments?
Well, it just that, according to the ADA requirements, the, they encourage that the handicapped accessible entrance be something which is very, which is,
Apparent need.
Not lesser.
yeah, it's, because it used to be when ADA first came through, they would stick it off to the side where the elevators and stuff like that, and they said, no, 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 and you're treating them as second-class citizens. You need to have an access which is fairly common or that most other people use, so.
I totally understand that, but that's on a new design and not an adaptation of a historic building though, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not designing this facade from scratch.
Right.
If that were the case, then that's a whole other that's a different thing.
Well, okay, and the issue then becomes whether or not, I mean, that entrance, we're making assumptions that people are not going to use it, and I'm not totally sure that that is in fact the case, especially since that door is a wooden door, and it really looks like it's a residential or an office use. So if you're looking to go to a bakery, I guess once you're familiar with the building, you'd know that you'd enter through there. But I'm not sure that that is something which is going to be typical of the people who who frequent the bakery.
It reminds me a little bit though of the workers' house. That's just past Route 90, and the owner currently has two porched openings that lead to two front doors for this duplex, and they were requesting a united front porch with a centered step up. In that case, with no center door, and so I think we decided that that felt a little bit like it's confusing and it's not natural to the sequence of entry. And in this case, I feel like these stairs are indicating the door is up the stairs and that the doors to the bakery are secondary or other. And so I think maybe Lauren or Todd mentioned, someone mentioned signage considerations. I do think it's not intuitive, but this passes. I studied this building at some point when I think all of us were trying to figure out who could sort of give it a new life. And I'm so grateful that you are giving it a new life. And yeah, you are. And I think we have, there is enough space to ramp up after this door. It just means this wouldn't be a front porch. It would become a ramp, and it still would have the same aesthetic considerations that we're concerned with now. It might not have the same egress issues as knowing what is the front and what's not. So I think there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Ideally, we can find a way that you're happy with and we're happy with.
All good feedback. I'll add one or two, just little nuggets for consideration. Because of the elevation change between street and the door here, the steps to sort of be standard size steps, sort of essentially there isn't really a landing outside the door, or there isn't depth or a landing outside the door were you to try and do the steps right, because we sort of looked at this, can you have the steps there, and there isn't the depth from the sidewalk to the building to achieve the vertical and give you a landing at the top, which leaves you with a door that has immediate steps outside of it, which
Is that
is
allowed?
right, not good.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that that's a viable thing. To go to one of your thoughts of sort of these two steps here, our thought process was they sort of mimic some of what is there now, and sort of it's the steps this way. Well, still, I think a little bit to your point, it's principally, as Angie's is now, is principally a locals place. And I think everyone will sort of just know how the flow goes. And the width of this is sufficient to really have two people passing each other in alternate directions, versus this as an entrance, which really doesn't allow for that.
If this were to be your main entrance and you
Mhm.
were to have a platform, you could just have a few steps down here and then you come
Oh,
in
I
this
see.
way.
Yeah.
Or two independent.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the thing that you have to remember is that you have to have a landing on the other side of the door, at least 4 foot. No, depth, yeah.
Mhm.
So you take that out. Okay, and then you're talking about some steps
That's the sign.
down.
But she's saying to have a landing.
Well, the thing is that was a loading dock.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they used it for. So you're talking about, 3 feet or something like that is. Just difference in elevation.
Yeah, I should figure it out with the scale, but I think that's about right.
So, I mean, there is a big difference. And, I guess the question really is that, putting in all of those steps, along the width of the,
Here,
right,
Or here, I mean, it's an
Here.
interesting conversation. I think Angie's actually does get a lot of outside visitors.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
That would be, this is
I
basically.
I would chime in on that. I feel like Angie's is by far more a visitor than a local place. It's on the weekend. I mean, it's always visitors. So, yeah, just second that, Kate.
well, that and also, as far as the width goes, if you have the existing doors swinging out, the landing has to accommodate those also.
Which it does is drawn, if we don't narrow it. If we assume the landing is an equal depth to the existing proposed porch, then yes, it does work.
Yeah.
How wide is the porch?
That way.
5
And then the porch just doesn't exist here. That would be,
Brainstorming.
yeah.
I mean, a loading dock wouldn't have had a porch in front of.
Well, if they put any kind of platform there, they're gonna need a railing.
Right.
Right,
For
which
safety.
a loading dock would never have, but it would sort of recall in volume a loading dock rather than a sort of more domestic.
and
front
that is
porch.
sort of how we did approach. I may not have verbally pointed this out, but it's on the drawings there. There's and Todd here, this is maybe small font to read, but there's, what we did is we sort of kept essentially a loading dock type gate, in front of the loading doors. Not really for any purpose, other than a nod to sort of its history as a loading dock. Yeah, I think I did verbally call it out, I'm sorry. And that was this nod to its history as sort of like a piece. We don't need it there as loading dock gates. We don't anticipate backing up a lot of big trucks to it, but sort of trying to nod back to its past.
Which I think in this area only it would do that,
Mhm.
but maybe not if it's extending across the entire facade.
Mhm.
Is there a way to also just have one door? Is there a way to have
To come
one
back to
fixed
that.
door and one
Pardon?
door open instead of having both at the same time so that this doesn't fall across this?
I will
vertical?
also point this out. So here, hold on. I just want to help keep Todd with our conversation. So
Thank
Todd-
you. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And chime in if I'm not and you want me to direct at something, please do.
Yep.
So we're looking at this sort of door to the left here. And
Yep.
really my comment is going to apply to both. The dimension, so the way it got drawn is as if it sort of like sits outside and there's like a side light.
Mhm.
Here, hold on, Todd, I think I can zoom this in for you. Like,
Yeah, that's not
there's a
how,
side
yeah.
light here. And I don't know what happened because that wasn't in a prior version of the drawing. And it just got, I don't know if she just like, I think what happened is she like the door got as an item in the drawing got moved. So that it doesn't break over to your
It wouldn't.
question. It doesn't break over this line.
It would.
You have a photograph?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at that,
It will, yeah.
it will.
Yeah, it would come over, it would go over, not as much as
Oh.
that, but it would cross that vertical.
Yeah.
Would cross the original.
But not breaching the line. that's
sort of
the
this
original
vertical line.
residential.
Now, I mean, the other option is to keep, so again, my approach here was to try and like do extra work that I thought was nods towards the
Mhm.
goals here. But I'm not, that's why we're here, is I don't have your
Right.
expertise. Does it change the equation because you were asking about one door, but what if, is it better to just leave the doors on the interior? The historic doors hinge on the interior, which does leave some of it, like there's no hiding the glass pane doors.
Oh, it's you're saying have these glass pane doors on the outside of the building
Right,
too.
yeah.
I
and-
would not like that.
Okay, so like, right, again, I'm trying to like go towards the
Yeah.
goals. Um,
But is it possible, I mean, and is it possible to have this closed, have one historic door operable, and then just have a single entrance door, like a lot of shops on Main Street?
I think the challenge is human traffic flow, to that. I think that's the challenge of a one door situation, just with the kind of flow of people into a space as large as this that can accommodate.
Yeah, I also think it does, I'm sure has to do with the amount of light entering the space, and it is a large amount of space, and the two adjacent windows are not large windows, so
They're
it
not.
has the potential to feel quite closed off. I do appreciate the desire to use those doors because most people would come before this board, and I just want to put this on the record, uh, and not plan to do that. They're in terrible condition. They're not going to be like used all day every day and be able to withstand real high traffic. So I appreciate, your desire to preserve them in some aspect.
Yeah.
Are you so are because I can't see, when you guys are pointing at stuff, are Kate and Lauren, I think, are you um concerned with their change to be outward opening, or is it just in could you just explain your
I think what I'm concerned with is if they are, I'm concerned that they will remain fixed
yeah.
out really, because they're gonna not be used and then they're.
I would honestly assume that that is going to be
So
how it
I'm
goes.
concerned about this huge volume at
Okay.
that side of, that creates at that point in the facade.
It's a proportional issue.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it's
I
not-
do think that given their age, I have a feeling that they will be left open most of the time. They are not going to be the primary security. They're not going to be locking the way that the interior glass and aluminum doors are. So I have a feeling they will most likely be left open. So that is a valid point to bring up.
I think if the,
Well, what would be the alternative? I mean,
so one alternative is that the east or page left door remains shut and fixed. And then the right door is technically operable and it could be shut just, at the end to represent that it's the end of the day. And that beyond that door, there's a glass door that during the day is the primary egress door used. And then we could work on what that glass door looks like. I mean, if the interior is industrial, I'm open to a metal door, probably not aluminum, but like a thin blackened steel that somehow sort of nods to a more industrial interior. Especially if that railing goes away and the egress is up from the west train station side for those doors. I think there are solutions. That's sort of
I think that could be an elegant way of
Yeah.
of doing it, Kate.
And then basically this becomes more of a platform and stairs, and then this all goes away. And then you have the accessible entrance on the rear.
but, all right, so then it's no longer a handicapped accessible entrance.
That's
well,
true.
it's not
at the rear of
current
the building.
as drawn. It's not
Okay, and-
would require sort of additional
As drawn, it is what we will do. Maybe if I'd sort of lay out some of like the timeline. So the rear deck isn't for well further into the future, like not near term. And this, I think we're in the midst of finalizing with the village and engineer and attorney and everything so that this work, which is just, if I come back here, Todd, I'm gonna try to keep you up to speed here. So
Cool.
that this piece here, because all that's needed is essentially just a little bit more of the bluestone paving that brings it up to here. Point here in the row.
Yeah.
And we're sort of on the cusp of that with the village. So that is essentially, I think that will be completed in conjunction with this versus this is years down the road. And I will, again, just sort of like put it out there from my perspective. I think our village is especially challenging for people who are not as ambulatory as everybody else.
Yeah,
Like it is really, really tough.
Owners who just
Right.
say like, I can't get
Yeah.
into your store. Yeah.
And creating spaces that allow for that, to me, especially spaces that are where community gathers and where you take your family for meals and connectivity. That stuff to me feels like an important goal for the village, which doesn't have to do with the historic charm and sort of context, but to me feels like an important part of what happens in our village from a larger design perspective, sort of the urban planning, as it were, of the village. And so I will politely, with love and deep respect, push a bit on the idea of trying to keep what is designed here with plenty of modifications towards this goal of both helping a business activate what is a large and otherwise historically dilapidated space and sort of bring it back and do so in a way that sort of is accessible for the broader whole population, including just people who've got a mom in a wheelchair, or someone, like lots of baby strollers, like lots of different things. So with all respect, I will nudge back towards that versus some of the alternates that strip that part away. Especially to me, the like coincidental beauty of this working out to be that, but have that possibility feels important to not like let that coincidental opportunity like be left to the side.
Would it be possible to have a ramp? So have a landing here and then have a ramp going from this side so that it could be accessible.
There isn't
We
a
don't have
double.
enough room. It needs to be 1 on 12.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the thing that gets most buildings is they don't have the frontage to allow for the gradualness. And most buildings also don't have the width to do a double back.
Well, that, and also we have done what they're proposing on a number of properties here. For example, there was that, I forget, there was what the address is, but there was a building which had separate entrances due to the fact that there was a change in elevation as far as the front. And what they did was they put in a level platform all the way across. So, huh?
On Main Street?
On Main Street. And also that place that is on the lower part of Main Street, used to be a,
Corona?
huh?
The wine bar? Corona?
The what?
Cronus, the wine bar on there?
Okay, with the wine bar is, yeah, that's
I
right,
think
the
that's
wine
one I
bar.
was thinking of.
So, it's not unusual, and I think nowadays, and because I do remember at one point, we had some people from the state come in, and they were talking about coming up with ways of providing handicapped accessibility on Main Street, because Main Street's the main attraction for the village, and due to the fact that we have the steep grades, a lot of stores are not accessible. And so
I think in those other cases, though, there's no other access to the building. There's no other possible access to the building, and in this case, because it's on the corner, there is this possibility.
There is, I will point out, there are easements that have to be vacant. There's a lot of things that I have to do to get this to be viable. I want to be clear and honest with you and like always show what I'm thinking and where I'm going. But this is not turnkey or definitive, just for clarity.
Back parking lot going to be utilized. Will that be for diners?
Sort of like the area that's back here. So
I mean,
Before
this is the, I see, there's no other
Currently,
space
the-
right here for parking.
no,
this.
there's not like us, I mean, there's like there's additional square footage, but not like not for vehicular, like real parking. There'll be sort of a dumpster bin back here. And you can pull in and sort of park along here as needed for deliveries, stop off. Yeah, sort of, can sort of pull in off the street here. But this has, so one of the things is, I'm sure you're very well aware, our village has a lot of water issues because of our slopes. And so this is where a whole bunch of stuff drains to, and we've got a whole set of pipes that come in and sort of culverts and a collection bin that then turn and go through it. So there are water easements, and I'm working with the village board to try and navigate through helping the village as part of this, like, hey, let me go do this, but let's go clean up and improve the sort of the water flow situation in the back. Yeah, so because this isn't guaranteed, when
In advance of
So-
this,
Mhm.
is there, you have an existing back porch here.
Mhm.
Is there a way to have just a very, very basic wood ADA ramp to access this door?
This is a gravel
There.
road here,
Yeah.
so I don't think, not in a way that like,
And what do we have? We have signs, all right, all you handicapped people go this way to enter. I mean,
No, no.
I totally agree, but we are
It's a
charged
balance.
with protecting the historic fabric of that, like, that's what we are, that's what
yeah.
this board is charged with.
right, I
So
understand that, and
Yeah.
I have been on this board long enough to understand that. But the issue is that, it's a living village, and usually, I mean, we apply very readily or approve very readily solar panels. Now, is there anything historic about solar panels? And why do we approve? Because it's an acknowledgement of the fact that there is technology which will help us live. And I think, what we're talking about here is, acknowledging the fact that we have a certain portion of the population that has, problems as far as reaching the places that most people have no problem getting to, and to sort of consigning them to. And because the issue that you're talking about is that I think if this building was a historic building that can sit there and say, well, Lincoln came in and he drove up, and this is where he spent the night, and this is how we get. That would be a different story. This is an old building, which is in a historic district, and I think that there is a certain amount of acknowledgement that it is it is appropriate to the district. And so my feeling is that I don't think that we should tie ourselves down with trying to make this something that isn't. I mean, we have a lot of buildings in the village which have been modified, even though there's no historic precedent, but it's an acknowledgement of the fact that we're now in the 21st century as opposed to the 19th century.
So looking at that to aim to get ADA access on the front facade, I wonder if we do need to assess this interior location, because it is possible to widen this space and make this the primary egress, which would then eliminate the need for ramping and porches, etc. And just everyone would flow through here.
Because this is, unlike solar panels, this is a more irreversible decision, whereas the solar panel just comes off the roof and all the conduit and it's gone. So it is a different thing, I would argue. in
Well,
this
it
particular
isn't
case.
a different thing because it's something that the building has to live with. For example, we had a whole bunch of um, these cute Victorian houses on the street. I think it's what's the street that is just north of the Catholic Church?
Not so Fair Street, but then the one.
Right. The Fair Street is that goes in the
Exhibit?
front, but the one on the next thing. There are a bunch of,
Mhm.
and the thing is that they were very small houses. And there was a family there that had children, and so they looked to add to, and you know, that was, we had workshops, and there was a struggle because the issue was is he didn't want to modify the existing building too much, but we came up with a solution which added square footage to the building so that it could be used. And that's what you want. You want to make changes which will enable people to continue to use the building because I've seen too many instances and not here, but in other places where you know, changes couldn't be made because of historic restrictions and the buildings were left abandoned, not occupied, or they were, and ultimately they were demolished by.
Yeah.
I think we are all excited for this building to be used.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we can find a way to make it ADA accessible. I know maybe you are very opposed to it being in the rear and you're saying that that is years off, any of this.
Mhm.
But I do think what a lot of board members are saying here is that this is a lot to add to the front of the building, which is historically had a stark presence.
Mhm.
And maybe it is working in some kind of ADA accessible entrance here instead. And it doesn't, and then you're not relegated to the back, but maybe there's another way to do it than to have this porch with all as designed.
I'm up for that.
I'll
Let me toss out something and you can take a look at it and see what you think. Well, yeah, whatever. The issue is that we're dealing with this door, which, you know, we have all sorts of issues as far as reusing that door and so the doors. But is there any reason why you couldn't have another entrance someplace here?
No, so
Like
if I sort of point the same thing you're pointing, and I'm gonna try to do it here, up on the screen for Todd as well. Meaning essentially take this, what is this window here, which is this one here, and Todd,
Or how about
This
the
window.
one next to it?
or this one.
Yeah,
To that, can we talk about this as the door
I
and what that would
I-
mean?
I can chime in just from a structurally, I can't widen and create, I don't think I can succeed at creating the turn here because of the structural pieces here. But I don't know that I can succeed at
There's a
doing
girder
that.
right there.
And this is a structural post, you're saying?
Yeah,
Right
I think there is a structural one here. I don't know, it's not shown on the plan.
This is your grid. Right, and so it looks like
So you have another.
that's for the stairs, right?
That's not for the stairs, this is part of the support for the upstairs. And that there's one here, there's sort of if I recall, there's sort of like some kind of non-support here, but with some cross bracing, and then another one here and another one here. I don't think that I can achieve wheelchair turn dimensions here. And yeah,
Maybe.
let alone, I don't think,
It's worth, I mean, that would be a really great solution and then could eliminate.
which also would change. Take care, have a great night. I think, I mean, it would be a new door as well. From a dimension perspective, I think.
Really, right? You're saying that's not a 3-foot door or too
I
tall?
know. I can look up what ADA is. I think it's. 32, so 210. No, 2A. Yeah, 2A. I can double check that. I will, so,
I mean, the other option that I was talking about is taking this window
Mhm.
and creating a door there.
I think that's possible in the sense of, but I do think I need a sort of a double width door. So to me, and again, this is your area of purview, but if I look at the facade, right, so Todd, it's this window here,
Hmm.
creating that changes the build to me, and again, this is, I want to be deferential to you, to me, that's creates more change there than what I'm trying to get done.
Right.
I will mention, it did have an approved porch before. Got mentioned before that there was no porch before. It didn't get built, but it did get approved previously.
For this, you're
For
saying
this
this
building,
building,
in the
HDRB at some point and.
the HDRB. That, yeah,
But
yeah.
if it was an idea someone had, it was never built, and it was never approved
Yeah.
by the board, we
Yeah.
can't consider that as
Yeah.
a.
Does it change? I mean, again, I'm sort of spitballing with you all as well. Like, does it change if Todd, a little bit echoing to your point about the railing and pivoting to wood, which I'm totally fine with. If the front facade of the porch and the deck is like adjusted to match what is some of, there's a mixture of front porch facades, meaning like sort of the footer of the deck style. Some are, wood within a lattice work, sort of fill in the paneling. Do those things influence it sufficiently to help adjust the perspective? If it starts to look even more akin to some of the other things. We have some that are the stone, and some, I can't think of one that's like a brick fill, but I'm sure there is one. Decking. And I
Could
guess,
I just ask Kate and Lauren, are you um are you opposed to the deck-iness appearance of this? Would you be happier with it being more reading as a sort of a stone patio with steps to the sidewalk, or are you not liking the idea of any sort of raised structure element in front of the building?
I think that I am okay with having like a platform in front
Okay.
of the double doors of the building and having some sort of entrance to those double doors. But I think that visually, this is a lot on the front of this building.
So it's like it reading the fact that it really reads as a deck with deck railings
Yeah. And the stone
fundamentally.
underneath
And the problem to overcome is that in order for it to there is not enough depth there for it to serve as a wheelchair access point along with steps down to the sidewalk.
right,
Okay.
correct. And maybe I'll just add a couple other notes of sort of like how we came to some things. So Todd, on the railing type, you mentioned not wrought iron. One of the things we had spec was fully like simple, and this sort of speaks exactly to what you're saying, like simple, straight line, no sort of ornamentation, crenellation type things, just very straight. And part of the reason why I'd oriented towards that, which I think speaks a little bit to your thing, was a black railing, with just space, I think disappears visually more quickly than a painted wood with railing where the pieces are bigger. Because while I have to, meet code enforcement and all that kind of stuff for safety and whatnot, the hope was to sort of have this railing feel like it disappears a bit. And it's just essentially nodding back, as you mentioned, Kim, sort of to it being like a platform for a loading dock, kind of, so keeping sort of the industrialness of it. So I'm fine with pivoting to wood, but at least explaining some of the rationale of like why I approached it the way I did, was to like, that doesn't show up in the drawings the way we sort of see them here, but like, I think you all are familiar, like black thin things sort of disappear from our visual. I walk into my garden fence all the time. And it is black thin between posts that are 12 feet apart. And I'm just not paying attention. And I think I can walk into this part of the garden and
Why we're allowing tables sometimes for rear porches.
it visually falls away in our brains. Yeah.
And to be clear, I'm not stylistically, I'm not objecting to
Mhm.
a contemporary addition to this. I think it's the
Volume.
volume,
Yeah. Well, I was just
And-
trying to describe, I tried to make some of that volume disappear.
right?
But I hear you. Are there other aspects that help it, the volume, to use that term, like fade away? It is part of it the outward swinging doors? Because that feels like maybe that's part of what's also triggering some of the reaction, is the sort of volume of the doors being pivoted to an outside swing.
Well, I think that certainly exacerbates the image. I think that if the doors could be used, somehow rehabilitated and made more usable,
Like repaired,
huh?
repaired.
Yeah. That, maybe that would sort of reduce that amount of things going on in that part of the building.
I don't know that I can achieve success. I mean, I plan to sort of like rehabilitate the doors. I don't think I can achieve success at making them the doors that are the like constant in and out door.
That is a giant stretch. A
Yeah.
giant stretch. It's not going to happen.
For someone to use them, like
I
just-
do think Kate or Lauren, I forget who said it earlier, the idea of having one fixed closed with a glass door and the other one, the glass door swinging in and the other leaf of the original door swinging out, where it could be done kind of gracefully. I think that is a nice idea. And it definitely kind of harkens back more to what the original use of that entrance to the building is. I think like we all sort of, or not, maybe not we all, but earlier when we're talking about both leaves being used and out swinging outward, I also think it's a stretch to think that they're going to get used on a regular basis to close them. So visually, then they become essentially like decorative shutters. And what are we really doing at that point?
Is that a thing, right? So the users are Ken and Angie, who some of you may be familiar with,
And for
local.
now, right? Like, let's assume forever, but I assume there could be another tenant in the
Yeah.
future.
Correct, right? I mean, they've got a 10+ yearly, so like, but sure, like that, I think that could happen. But is that a thing where we sort of speak to them and say like, hey, this is what we want, like we need the doors to close on a nightly basis? I think that is honestly what they said, their plan. But is that a thing that helps and/or on lower traffic days, leaving the one to the east or the left, as we're looking at it here, closed on, not high traffic days?
I don't think that we can base a functional sort of large change to the building based on desired behavior from people. It sort of goes back to my thinking that, people take a step up to a door are more likely to open the door than to walk, 20 feet down a deck to what looks like another door. It's like human behavior kind of stuff. And especially as regards to this, it's like once it's done, it could just be like, oh yeah, we'll close it every night, and then it never gets closed again. And at that point, it's done, and we have literally no recourse. We can't force that to be done.
I agree, which is why I feel, in my mind, for now anyway, there are two options. And one is that the current existing man door is used as the main egress for the first floor and for the upper floors, and it's reconfigured on the interior, and there's no porch. And these are just remaining shut or open to the interior with like a fixed glass, modern
Mhm.
glass punch that allows light to come through. And
Explain that slightly.
you would maintain the existing barn doors, probably
Interior
swinging
swing.
to the interior, and then they could appear open. And it would look like there's just a sheet of glass, again, maybe with
Okay.
a steel detailing, something to nod to the industrial interior. And the other option would be having one of these doors fixed in place and the other operable, swinging out with a glass door swinging in, same sort of industrial aesthetic. I'm open to other things, but that's sort of what I would see. And then as much railing as possible eliminated. So if this door's fixed, maybe the railing is ending just here, and then the ramp, there's a platform and there'd be a ramp down to here. And so there'd be a clear egress up to this door and a clear egress to this door, and they're differentiated. So there'd be no Angie's customers going to the offices. That's, but I'm not, you know,
I think that's a great solution. Either one of those would be a great solution.
And that, where does the egress, where does the handicap accessible go at that point?
so for that one, the handicap accessibility, I think because the higher grade is to the east, Upper Village, would
yeah.
have to start just west of the existing Mandor and ramp up from there. So the ramp would be between the two doors.
Oh, okay, okay.
And some of that might not have to have, we'd have to look at how the railing would work, but it could be simplified in some way that's specific to the ramp.
I don't know that I can, so another point to point out, the basement access and egress and Bilco door thing, I don't know how to physically do what you just described
Mm.
and achieve or retain that egress.
And is there additional egress to that space in the rear? No, and you'd be using that to
I need to keep it.
service entry.
And there's no way to introduce a handicap accessible door on the east side of the building, the Lund Terrace side. You guys established that?
I mean, I suppose in this instance, the main door, well, no, it wouldn't work. It would still then become this door. That would be if, you know, you had steps coming to here, then you'd have to divert people who had wheelchairs, but also every other person in this village has a stroller right now. You know, that would also be that, so it's not ideal.
Another.
No, sorry, the east side, not the north side, that east.
Here.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
that in there. Did you already establish that there's no way to do that? To change one of those windows for a door?
I mean,
Good thought.
it's sort of, and this is maybe a moment to sort of point to this. I very much want to achieve, I think you can tell, I really try and want to achieve things. There are those challenge points where in order to like to achieving commercial success and affording to go take care of a building and sort of honor its past, do all those things, those sometimes are at cross odds, right? And this is where we sort of get into things like some of what I am trying to achieve is making a space that works for people who want to operate a business in it. And this is maybe me going on a soapbox moment, but like, and a business that I spent a long time sort of seeking out and turning away other businesses that aren't good for village residents, right? Like we don't need the mini fancy jewelry stores or cannabis dispense, like the things that people were willing to pay a lot more to be in this space aren't what we need in our village. And I sought out and tried to create a space that achieves a lot of the goals. And I know that's not the purview of this board per se, but I will sort of nudge towards, again, it feels like the larger context of the village and the things we're trying to achieve here. While some of the aspects of the port aren't perfect, in a historical context, it's achieving the balance point between allowing me to redevelop a building that has otherwise been one of our biggest blights on Main Street and the entrance of the first thing people see for the last 20 years coming to the village, and achieve modest commercial success while still broadly trying to do all the right things to fit into the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we do.
What's
This
this-
is our
this
first
is the
time,
bar.
right? So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're going through these.
So this is, yeah, so from a flow perspective, this is a whole coffee bar and sort of like their, uh, essentially they're splitting their flow of some of the baked goods and all the coffee flow. So coffee flow, Todd, sorry,
Okay.
coffee flow here,
Okay.
and bakery distribution here.
It's like an 18-foot count.
Yeah,
Well, then also you have the stairs going up to the second floor.
Yeah, those are here.
those come through about here. This is the stairs are sort of doing that thing in your ceiling where it's like cut off a bit through here-ish. And to them, this, and this is where it gets into, and I know it's not the purview per se, the inside and whatnot, but like having this function is sort of an important part of how this functions inside. And I don't think changing and creating the entrance here lets them have the flow that they've attempted to try and create.
So could it be again, none of this might work, but just.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I love that.
Like if this is a secondary egress, it could help access, future, you're asking for this land, et cetera, and tables.
I don't think this will be, yeah, keep going, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking then those doors become more tertiary, but there is a way to sort of have this connected through a door here or through a door here. And if this is, if they can forego 5 feet of this, then you can still get this program within this space. And-
Or else, why not make that the main entrance to the bakery? And just close off where
Mhm.
just close off the other doors.
That would be hard. You're saying to access Angie's, you have to come this way?
They want.
I think that's what Brian's talking about as far as,
Commercializing,
Yeah, they
helping
wanna
them,
have the
right?
main street.
alley entrance.
Well, they have to be able to succeed financially, and I think to them, having, sort of what is designed here or a variation on theme helps them have Main Street visibility and the customer flow that sort of comes with that. The prime retailness of that.
I mean, I go past Lund Terrace all the time.
Mhm.
And so that side of the building is as prominent as the Main Street side. So I just have a hard time believing that that would be, a detriment to their business as opposed to moving the entrance onto the Lund Terrace side. Because basically what you're talking about is from the corner, just walking down that path and entering the.
Or
I
again,
think for the visitors, which a lot of people, obviously, as we all know, are coming off of the train and through the tunnel. That is a stretch. Like the front of the building is what reads as like, okay, if you don't, I mean, people don't put a lot of thought into into their actions, which brings me back to like the fact that door is what people are going to probably use. Is if it's not
Yeah, but
easy and in your face, people tend to a lot of times,
what if we were to keep the main street entrance as the egress to Angie's, and then somewhere just to the side, on the east facade, Lund Terrace side, an entrance which is more common and maybe beneficial to the offices to the second floor. So you're coming up, and then Angie's is here. But I think a lot of this doesn't exist right now. This is just.
It does. This does.
The stair does.
You built it out, do you mean?
Well, the stairs historic, I mean, not claiming like historic status, but it's been there and operable
pre-existing.
for a long, yeah, it's pre-existing and it's been there since the get-go.
I get too excited. I see these images, right, that
Right.
are so open, and I just think this is like all in that space. You have an opportunity to reconfigure. That's here, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's a bit further. It's 1, 2, 3 bays. That's the back room.
I just can't.
Yeah, that's the back room, and then there's 1, 2 main columns.
And then those 2x4s are here.
So that's the framing for the
Yeah,
back.
so
That's-
this
mhm.
framing, yeah, there's like a box out right there
Mhm.
in the original
And-
plans.
And the stairs are,
Right, this was like, I mean, this is nothing, but this, they're showing that there's the storage closet here and these stairs there. So this is storage closet.
I mean, it's built out as bathrooms now.
So, so you've progressed the interior
Oh, yeah.
design in
I
advance
mean,
of.
this is mostly
You're getting
all
approval.
built. Based on that, we have the approvals.
Yeah, no, I just
For
meant
sure,
that
it's
based on the outside.
Yeah.
It hems us in for exterior options, and I'm not sure that that's.
I hear what you're saying though, Kate, like having another door here that's
For the
accessible.
bakery.
That's ADA accessible,
Mhm.
and then you can, I think what we're, most of us are saying
Mhm.
is that this, as this is designed, it's a lot. And this is a lot, and we'd like to see some sort of, closed, keeping this sort of surround, the
Mhm.
original door surround as the target dimension, right,
Mhm.
for that part,
Well-
whether that's the doors, one of the doors fixed, or there's like a glass,
Do I just,
but we want,
Mhm.
and we're saying have this be the main entrance if possible, and then an ADA accessibility either on the side there, or if there's a way to do it to a platform there.
does pivoting or retaining these doors as pivot inside? Just going back to, because some of what you're saying is like, have less door out here. Like that's, I'm very open to that option.
Uh, I mean, rather than thinking of the existing doors as the doors, but the existing doors are mounted on some, let's say a steel frame
Mhm.
so that they can be used and that you're not counting on, the wood surviving the use.
Mhm.
I mean, is that a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, at least in my conversations with Ken and Angie, what we had, the way we'd approach it is to, really strengthen the doors and the hinges. And I'll maybe mention briefly, because you also mentioned, Todd, about the build out of the door frame. The frame depth and the wall depth as is would allow us to have the metal door sit on the inside of the building envelope. And so there isn't an exterior change to the sort of door frame around it.
That is, that's great. That would be,
Because I'm just touching back to a thing Todd had mentioned before
Yeah.
about being worried about that, like needing to build out. And we wouldn't need to do that as currently designed. They would just hinge, they would sit inside the current door pocket as they do now. But now the hinges would be at the edges, and that it is a sturdy, or we would reinforce it, and I think we can reinforce the doors and have them be operable like that has been the conversation with Ken and Angie, is they plan to close them at night. But Todd and everyone else, I fully respect the commentary about you can't depend on that, but at least for me sharing, like that has been the thing. So to your point, the goal is to make them strong so that they can be done. I don't think I need to do that with an additional steel frame just based on the doors. The real issue is just the weight of the door. It's not a consumer door. You are moving a big, heavy door, even on well-balanced, hinges.
All right, well, then the solution or an answer to that is, you can increase the number of hinges. Typically,
Mhm.
large doors will have 3 hinges.
Mhm.
But if it gets heavier, then you go to 4, and you increase the size of the hinges. The other, option is to go to, piano hinges,
The whole length, yeah.
the whole length.
Yeah, so I'm open to all those, which will make them operable and sturdy, and that essentially is my plan. And the multiple hinges was sort of like one of the things that we need to. It's more the moment of inertia weight of the door that I think is the challenge for a customer to to use as the like daily use doors.
How about, pivot hinges?
are you trying to propose a way of using the existing wood doors as the sole primary entry and egress door?
Yes, yes.
I
Weather seal.
I feel like that is a giant ask. And like I said earlier, 99% of applicants would be trying to replace them entirely. So
It still leaves us with an issue that becomes the main egress and we have to ramp up to it or have a railing, etc. And maybe it's just we've been doing this a while, we'll have to regroup, but I feel like, yes, technically you can get a permit to do interior work, but then to come to us and say, well, now I have to do it this way for the exterior because I've not done the interior, I'm like,
No,
what?
and I just,
Door that would be the correct door to use because you've designed us into a corner, like that just feels so unfair. So I'm like
well,
getting to the point where probably need a break to come back fresh and happy so we can go
Sure.
on.
Sure. That isn't what I meant to say. Like, I just was trying to give you what is accurately like
Right.
there. We
Yeah.
used what was already framed out for the bathrooms, you know, like,
Just like cheapo 2x4 frame.
I think could I just maybe say what I feel like my ideal kind of situation, and a little bit of, I think, a takeaway from several people's comments is if there is a way to have the handicap accessible entrance on the east facade somewhere, that is preferable. You are at grade there. If there is a way to do that, that is preferable. For me, as regards the original double doors that are on the far right side of the main facade, if there is a way to have a single fixed side, the other side be operable outswing, and then a glass door that opens into the building that's easier to use for customers, for everyone, that feels great. And then as far as a deck or some kind of patio across the entire front, I think what may look best and what may actually get customers to use that as the main entrance is to leave the current, or have a couple steps up to that wood door all the way to the left, and then create a raised patio sort of system with steps in front of the double doors, only in front of that area, so that people coming off the train, people walking down the street, people walking from the depot, etc., see a glass, a big double door set. One of them is open with a glass door signage. That reads to me very obvious as this is the entrance to the building. And that far left solid wood door at that point would read very much as this is a door that goes to the upstairs or to something in the back. This is not for customers to use. And then we eliminate for lack of a better word, giant deckiness kind of thing that's overwhelming the front. We're eliminating maybe the need for large segments of railing. You would probably need some kind of railing to guide people up and down steps, maybe for safety, but you're eliminating so much of the bulk off the front of the building. I think that would be a very elegant way to achieve the goal. And this is again assuming we can figure out the handicap accessible from that other facade, but that gives the primary. It would very much read, this is the entrance to the bakery. You're maintaining the original wood doors while also creating more light by having a glass in-swing door on half of that. And it's not really disturbing the original facade. Very much.
That
Does
is
that?
very well said, Todd, and I
Okay.
think that really sums up the majority of the comments, and I would agree. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see a proposal like that.
And for the bakery, it's more evident to people that that is the entrance to the bakery rather than walking all the way to the end of the building and then.
You're also not relegating any wheelchair.
I'll get
You're not relegating anyone in a wheelchair or with a stroller to like go around the back. It's also a very obvious, ground level kind of easily accessible entrance on that side.
You're talking about on the east
On
side.
the east side.
Yeah, if there's a way of incorporating it there.
Okay, well, the thing is that I think that, so what you're proposing is that the doors not be essentially the double doors where, or the wood doors swing out and the glass doors swing in. You're talking about just one of the doors being operable and
Yeah.
basically having a small little platform which are accessed by stairs only.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it needs to be small either. I mean, I think it could extend a good portion of the right side of that building and be, prominent in some way. I don't think it needs to be, you know,
Well,
Don't,
Yeah, sorry.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the stairs, yeah, the stairs would have to come up from the driveway. Because you have the Bilco door on the other side, so you don't have enough room to fit in the stairs.
Right, so Todd,
No,
just
but they'd have to come up,
from
the train
from the
track.
driveway,
Yeah, from there.
yeah.
which
So
is,
then coming down Main Street, you could enter that way, or coming up from the train, you come
Right.
up this way. And if you have to use the ADA, you go in on the side there.
That should work space wise, if it's 3 and that's 3 and 3, you should be able to get those stairs.
It's very, that would be a very inviting, just front facade to me.
It makes this easier for you day to day. It gets rid of some of the like veneer under
And the-
porch, which felt a little bit odd to have like brick under a wood deck like that.
yeah, if we pivot to, I'm happy to go to a different, we didn't come back to that, and maybe I may go through some of those things, so whatever the design elements are, like, are there other categories that we sort of talked about? Like, I have some questions on the door material. Because I had gone white to match trim, but I think I've gotten sort of consensus that a sort of brushed bronze or dark, sort of black, do we have a little bit of orientation consensus that you can?
I would say, for me, that this area should, like, you're putting a contemporary intervention in here though, and so I would go to recalling the industrial kind of
Okay, so like
architecture, so
dark.
that's like a feel, or, if it,
If it's
Well-
an in-frame glass door, then it's interior to the facade, and to me, that's then a thin profile steel door that
Yeah.
you're calling industrial.
Okay.
It's not like a thick aluminum storefront door.
right, yeah, it's a
So,
older industrial style. Kind of
All right,
old
so
steel
then-
windows.
are we saying that one of the doors is going to remain fixed
Yes.
I think
and
that's the way
only
to
one
go.
door is operable?
So this one would be fixed, and this is the operable door. And then even if that does get left open sometimes, like, it's still,
I think that creates a pretty weird flow.
Yeah. But this opens, or if you're coming up here, this is an easier door to
To open.
open.
And I will,
well,
Well,
if
then
it,
it's-
if
okay,
it
opening
ends there
here,
though,
So it doesn't matter actually, because this could then be fixed.
yeah.
So you're pushing in, so it's less of an issue.
and I'll sort of nudge back to, it's like, I have a double door opening there now. I think for the benefit of their business and just having people flow in and out, that's preferred. Is there, like, and Todd, like, I go to the thing you said, like, this is what I'm trying not to propose, but should I just remove these doors and go to like, I was trying to,
That's why I would prefer if the existing doors get rebuilt. I think ultimately, to me, that's more of a historic reference than all of the other things we were talking about.
They need to stay in some form, and that's one solution. I do think also, if you do add this ADA e-store, then that helps with capacity and overflow. So if it's busy and people are coming in out the front door, locals know they can slip out the ADA door, it's easier to sort of move through the space. I don't think I can think of
I think,
maybe only the apothecary that has those double doors.
Yeah.
For that size space now, the way it's cut up into 3 bays, I don't think that's even needed for her store. And no other, even does the Ascend Center, they have 2 doors, but you only ever really open
On the side?
one.
on the front.
And then they have
Mm, that's
overflow on
true,
the side.
yeah.
The front is double. But I don't know. Yeah.
I think that everybody's overestimating the weight of operating these existing wood doors. I think that there are ways of making that as simple as possible There are, for example, pivot hinges you can get so that they're power assisted.
Yeah, I thought of that too, but the door itself, there's like, I mean, I'm exaggerating maybe, but slats with holes in between and there's, wind is gonna be pouring through these, and so you can't have an operable door and another operable door. You can't have to walk through two doors, right? So,
I think the assumption would be that those doors would be, Al, you used the word rebuilt. The assumption would be those doors are going to be replaced and replicated with something new that's meant to look like what's there if you're trying to accomplish modern usage for a commercial space using which would be another option, another avenue to potentially pursue. But I think the idea that those existing wood doors are going to get used by dozens or hundreds of people a day is not realistic.
I think one of the I'll mention this, and I've put a lot of effort into sort of creating a tight air sealed space inside. And for a lot of sustainability reasons, and that's sort of like a bit, we talked about that before, another, just trying to do the right thing. And that's my concern, is succeeding at taking the doors that are there now, and I guess the way I would say it is like the cost of, like, it may be doable, but I don't know how to succeed at that without that becoming an extremely custom job that I'm like, I think it is like creating a custom frame on maybe, power assisted pivot hinges. That frame is really the thing that is sitting inside the door. And I've taken a glass panel instead of a glass panel inside the door. I've taken an old historic piece of, the entire frame door and done it.
maybe we should see, because I'm just looking at Google Maps, some sort of images of the doors and their current sort of configuration, etc., and to help weigh sort of what could.
Well, the historic photographs that I think you found, right? That doesn't even have the addition.
These are what,
Take a look
3-foot
at-
doors, it's a 6-foot opening?
You mean the National Register
No,
report?
3-foot door,
The photograph that you had sent across.
shouldn't be too big,
Yeah,
once you
like
start
the
to
one
metal,
with the
etc., and
Yeah.
like refurbish it, but I mean.
It's what?
It seemed like it was too blurry to see anything, like, I don't know that you
Well-
could see that.
Well, you can't see that. That just it. You can see the main house, and then to the right of it is something else. It's not the addition.
Right, okay.
So,
But-
so the thing is, I think that what we're trying to deal with is the long drawn out platform is questionable. All right,
That's the
right.
Building,
That's
right?
the building
They could
there.
have a shed.
Well, you can't tell. I mean, there's that. You have, that's the building, and that's not even there anymore.
You know what? The photo from 1975 actually looks like there's another door directly next to those double doors.
I think they're, from the interior frame, I think there may have been.
Yeah. Let me
So,
But do you feel like you have a summary of like what we're sort of asking for?
Yes, there are.
I think it's the same one.
I should say too, usually I'm not the one to say it, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. We all have slightly different opinions. I think you need 3 of us convinced to progress this, and ultimately 3 of us to vote in your favor at a public hearing, if that's helpful.
well, actually, we haven't heard from Kimberly. So, Kim,
Are you
your
saying no to
thoughts, so that
At this hour,
so that Brian can come up with a consensus and.
and maybe if I can make one, because a little bit to that point, like, I guess what I would ask for the board to help me with is, I think if I just say this very plainly, like, this is not a money-making endeavor. I'm not succeeding in having a money-making endeavor, and I sort of knew that a bit going into this, and I'm okay with that to a certain extent. The more the requirements stack, it starts to move it into a place where, like, it's really not, and it becomes challenging to succeed, right? If I go back and the bakery says, you know what, we don't, because of these changes, like, we don't want this, and like, there's sort of like cascading dominoes of effects. And so with, again, with all the respect for the members, you know, expertise and the goal of the board, which I was just talking with my whole leadership team, because I was telling them why I wasn't at our leadership dinner, and I was like here. And, you know, I care a lot about trying to do the right thing. Like, that for me is, you know, as you were coming in, that's what Marjorie and I were talking about. It's like, just, I believe in trying to do the right thing and hold to my beliefs. I'm really trying to do that, but I ask and implore for sort of like meeting me as much as you can, trying to like target towards things, like even just switching the windows, Todd, to like be the slightly different ones was, you know, like many tens of thousands of dollars to just switch out windows that I already had set in place. And I'm okay, like, so you get my point.
And the
I don't
thing
need to
is,
be different.
and the thing is that we in fact try to work with you. That's the
And
whole
you-
point
and you
of
are,
this.
Yeah.
I think that while you obviously you're concerned about some of the things which would cost more, like if we're talking about reworking the two doors and making them the operable doors. If you do that, what you wind up doing is eliminating the cost of a lot of the platforms. A lot of the deck goes away.
Mhm.
So, you know, there are some, ultimately, you need to take a look at it and see what works for you and your tenant.
Mhm.
And, you know, that's why I think we need Kim's
Yeah,
thoughts.
yeah.
So, one of the things that I like about this building is that it is eclectic, that
Mhm.
things are in weird places. And the historical photograph does look like there was another door next to these big wooden doors.
Todd, I think she's, well, and maybe Todd, you even mentioned this, so I think you've seen what she's referring to.
Yeah.
Oh,
To the right.
it does look like it shifts
Yeah,
down,
so there were those big doors that were probably
right? Unless the images,
doors to get to the,
but see how that's a lower header than here? That looks like that's maybe the double doors and then a lower door there. Be a lower door in this location. Interesting idea.
Well,
Yeah.
either that or else that is a covered door. You know, something which covers the,
Show Brian so he knows what the
yeah.
bizarre image that. See how the
Oh, yeah.
head shifts down, so it's not
And that's the door that's there now.
Yeah.
next to it, just.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's not like it's a different door.
It also be like a crazy photo.
No, I mean, that's the door.
no, I mean, it could be, that was the people door and then you had a loading dock
Mhm.
door to
Sure,
load
yeah,
in
yeah.
and all the stuff. But
There's-
you know, unfortunately, looking at the inside here, this seems like an obvious place to put a handicapped accessible
Mhm.
door because it's on grade. You don't have to build this elaborate deck to have people. And from a traffic flow, you wouldn't want to have people walking all the way up here, turning and then going into a bakery. They're tired, they're getting off the train to have steps here going into the bakery. Or,
But I think just for I don't think we can go
Yeah.
that
well,
way.
I mean, just, but
Mhm.
not this walking up here to making a turn and going down. there.
Maybe your locals have this like secret VIP entrance. I'm hoping, having designed some restaurants before, that this is like kind of Angie will be like, oh, this was like like 20 feet. I don't need that much. I can chop off 4 or 5 feet. Slot in.
Would, do we have an issue if there's still a window here? So like if I explore this for a minute, the sort of like adding a door here in place of the window, how do we feel about then there being another window here?
For
So
more
that
light,
this space has,
Like-
because it has this
so-
small
like adding a
window.
window here,
Correct.
like this
yeah.
becomes a door and then another window.
And that's assuming that you need a wall here, because this is now a different space.
Say that again.
You would
Oh,
need
yeah,
this
like
door,
a,
so I think
right.
this being a glass door helps the space.
I think
Right,
I would
what's-
be amenable to that because it's such a,
Eclectic.
yeah, eclectic facade.
You know, things were sort of just like that weird little door here that got closed up. They were just, things were put in places that were convenient to the
Based
people.
on functionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to narrate some of what their hope and goal is, you know, and this is why they're choosing not, they don't want to open until we succeed at getting this, is to sort of have the customer, you know, they talked a bit about their business and sort of how in the modern era, like your reviews and like the experience of people is like that sort of first impression experience is like what sets the tone for the success or non-success. And Craig at the General Store is wicked brilliant on this topic, and I've heard him like, you know, I don't say pontificate in a bad way, but like really espouse a lot of like expertise at exactly how he thinks about creating this thing that creates the experience. And so for them, part of their business thing is how they've really spent a lot of time trying to design how it flows and having this space create. And some of the things that they are tackling, just to put out here for sort of internal plan flow things, is not having the entrance be right up against the bathrooms there were a handful of reasons, sort of like the bathroom aspect of the bathrooms, as well as just the bathroom issue within Cold Spring on Main Street, trains, tourists, all that stuff, and having people essentially be coming in and out and using the bathrooms, but not being a customer and not in, you know, coming in, but still.
They'll have that issue anyway. If people are coming in this
Yeah, they're
door,
gonna see.
unless there's someone like here or the bathrooms are locked, that
Yeah.
these will be used constantly.
Well, that and also this is right across from the public bathrooms on the other side of Main
They're
Street.
gonna have a key code.
Yeah,
If you
I
eliminate
think
this
that,
deck, you can have, I'm thinking to Craig in the general store, this is your property, so you can have your like lounge chairs and hang out down here.
Yeah,
You
you
can
can
have
have a
a-
couple tables down there, but then this entrance is really clear and friendly to that side. This entrance is clear, this entrance is
well, then
clear.
does that come to that, like, you know, does that, how, it's at a tilt. So do we create like terraced steps to like give them that
I would be
lounge space?
fine, I mean, you would have sort of a rail here to take the stairs down, but from this rail over,
There's here meeting.
yep.
Yeah, okay.
If
Just-
this area is now accessible just from the street front and you want people like grabbing a coffee and sitting, then I think you could have this be like a flat stone plinth and you just have a little.
It's sort of like at
common.
this elevation.
Yeah, it's common with Cold
Yeah.
Spring, right?
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
it could be,
what
you know,
Craig-
you have
Craig
that
has
huge
an
stone slab there, you know, it could be sort of something in that spirit,
extension of that.
yeah.
I just don't understand the logic of why you would fool around with this. If you have this as the access and you're rebuilding the doors, I would cut cut it off over there and just not have anything to the right of
That's
it.
basically
That's what we're
saying.
saying, that's what we're all saying.
Leftover land that's underutilized, and it could be street furniture, it could just be
Right.
leveling it out. It could be so that there's like a coffee and burrito cart when people are rushing on Fifth Avenue. I mean, that's like not, but you know what I mean? It's like it's underutilized. Could be
Yeah.
just plantings that are beautiful, but there's opportunity to do something here.
Right.
That's great.
And then you kind of also have this sort of like enter, exit with your coffee, sit down more situation too.
It would draw people in.
Which
If
would
you
draw
see
people in.
sitting outside the coffee
Mhm.
shop, it then is.
And it
more-
is so, it would be so clear where to go
But
in.
now we've become your marketing team, so I'm not sure you need.
No, it would funnel in traffic from the train.
Which
Yeah.
is what they're gonna get.
Yeah, I mean, for a minute deferring to them in terms of like thinking through all this things, this is their hope and goal to achieve their like sort of traffic flow goals. Um,
Well, I think that
Yeah.
we're
You're-
working with them.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make
Adjust.
some modifications.
You could pitch them that the local to Lowe's tourist days, when the tourists are flowing up here, the locals are feeling really smart coming around here.
Yeah, I mean,
And then this is like, you get a lot of people coming up from the train and anybody who lives here
yeah,
knows.
they,
what this
the
is.
local piece, like part of what their plan here and the way this is designed is to be able to essentially, you call in your order and you are handed your coffee here. And so that is actually their plan. but through like this being a service area where the staff are both servicing people inside and then handing out pieces.
So that's
to
why
the
you asked
outside.
for the window too, or- yeah, well, that's nice, that's
Yeah.
really nice.
Um,
Are you sure that they actually get a lot of foot traffic coming from the train?
from their, like, they've said it's principally locals. So Todd, not that I'm like contradicting your.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Who their customer
I'm sure they're right
Well,
then.
is
I
yeah,
just-
extremely loyal locals.
The
I
reason,
definitely think being like right at the bottom of the hill by the train station where hundreds of people
Well,
are getting off, you are going to be getting overwhelmed with that traffic.
yeah, but the thing is that people, well, all right. My experience is that most people who come up, all right, never mind. I just sort of thought it through, and I was wrong.
So in terms, um, is it viable if I came back with essentially like 2 attempts
Sure.
at this, right? And let's sort of go like got A and B kind of versioning. And in some degree, I'm gonna like go check with them and like be deferential to some of their needs for sort of the programmatic use of it, without trying to, I'm not trying to like box in at all.
Right, and you know, that sort of goes back to the whole point of the workshop is the fact that you got this feedback now, as opposed to trying to
After hearing.
convince us of something that, you know, we would not prove.
Mhm.
So, you know, feel free. I think our next meeting is on the 20th, which is
Mhm.
a week from today.
Yep.
So if you want to be on the agenda, we can have essentially another workshop. And we can go over, you know, you can sort of report back on what you have found and the response that you got from tenants and so on.
And is it possible to, if I have like 2 versions that are like viable, you know, after conversation with them and stuff, like have that not be a workshop, but actually be or how, you know.
Probably not
Yeah.
the public hearing.
Mhm.
I think it could it could then come up to just a normal meeting, right, where you can look at those, but it's probably preferable at the workshop.
Well,
Like, more expeditious ultimately, if we can just talk it through, or no?
Or I guess let me ask, maybe,
If we're,
Right, let
if
me
we're
ask-
being presented with 2 options, so it's hard to vote on that at a meeting.
I think I would have a strong like, hey, this is what I'd like to do, and here's where I've tried to like explore option B in case that doesn't work. The part of the issue is, you know, they're closed, and this wasn't, you know, your cascading set of effects, but you know, some of the things that slowed us down, you know, we got a stop work order that was delivered for replacing all the siding on the building because the temporary code enforcement officer looked at historic, you know, photos and saw the Tyvek and saw that it looked fresh and clean and assumed we'd re-sided the building, which we did not do. And we'd filed a building permit for doing what we did do, but then because he left, like we lost 4 months of time.
What? Just mayor saying, walk by that building every day, we're good?
No, I mean, you know, we got wrapped into sort of a loop of like, who can lift a stop work order now that he's not doing, I mean, it was like, because he's not, so we really sort of like lost all this time. And what has happened is then, like, this was all intended to be done so that Angie's could move in before they closed.
Right.
And through sort of for this like accidental reason, because we actually just did take care of the building, we lost all that time, and then we've been in the winter, and so a lot of things have had to move more slowly. And so Angie's is fully closed,
Yeah.
and so they're really, it's hurting, right? They're,
That thing been sorted out, or is that still ongoing as
I
well?
think the parking spot thing is like fully, that's all sorted out, which is excellent. Yeah, thank you. It didn't turn out, it's more expensive, 5 times more expensive, but c'est la vie. So I'm not complaining per se. But so I'm trying to move this as expeditiously as I can, so that their staff can return to work and so they can return to operation. And so that's part of my reason for nudging towards both.
Did this when you showed us the outlets on this lot and the windows.
Yeah.
They're doing this, you know, in parallel to that.
Well, is it possible if he comes to our monthly meeting as a workshop, can we schedule a special meeting?
Oh, for the
Yeah.
vote.
As a vote? that
We
could be
we
done.
can, and I guess the question is, do we think a public hearing is required?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Unless the
I'm-
porch goes,
Well, I think that-
so, 'cause unless the porch goes away, then maybe not.
well, let's say it goes with what we're talking about. It's just, the porch is only here. Well,
I have to look at our precedent.
huh?
If it's an addition, yes. If it's completely reconfiguring the front facade, I'd say yes, but maybe that's a small enough.
Yeah, but if it's a small enough intervention where you just have a small platform here with
Right.
stairs and a new door, I don't know that that would need a public hearing.
But the full porch, I think would.
This would, yes, yes,
Right.
absolutely, but we're also telling you we wouldn't approve it. So, but if we get to a point in a workshop where we're like, we would approve that, I don't know that we would need a public hearing.
Yeah. What do you
That-
think?
that would
Public
take-
hearing?
I mean, I certainly recognize the business needs of Angie's and the fact that they're now don't have a livelihood and they have a basically still a business and a
No.
commercial kitchen somewhere.
They don't.
So to expedite it, I agree that if we can look at this at a public hearing and have a private vote.
Or no
You
public.
mean a workshop?
Have a workshop.
Yeah.
At
Okay. And then
a
not have
regular
a public
meeting.
hearing. Yeah, I think that's, but I think what we're asking for is to have this eliminated, this reduced,
Mhm.
the door, the original opening preserved and respected, whether or not you fix the doors or
Mhm.
replicate doors or however you do
I'd
that, and
explore
an
that.
ADA entrance on
Mhm.
that
Love
side,
that.
then I think that we could approve this very expeditiously, right?
And a couple minor details, kind of things, the fill on front, so in that direction, is that fill in front. And so right now, the west side of the building, down the driveway side, and then the back side, so it's all cinder block everywhere, including here in the full front of the building.
Yeah.
While I'm doing this, should I be bringing that to the new standard that is that brick with what?
I think that's got to be brick. I do not think stone is
I
appropriate.
don't think a
for
stone
that.
veneer is appropriate for this, but
Okay.
would it even need
Or
a
is it,
fill?
How about,
or is
how
it
about
deck
stucco?
with, is it deck with the sort of lattice fill?
Well,
Which doesn't apply to the cinder block, right?
Yeah, I mean, the porch portion of it, it could be lattice. But the existing foundation, which is cinder block, actually probably seeing it in that cinder block.
Probably correct.
Stucco, I think would be fine, or, and it's something which can be done afterwards.
And then is that the same for this as well?
Well, there are a lot of landings along the fronts of buildings and on Main Street, which have lattice.
Yeah.
The decks are wood, and
Yeah.
so the enclosure of what's underneath is
It's lattice.
lattice.
Mhm.
So
While I recognize that is a factual statement, I think that enclosing that with lattice would be a very inelegant way of completing a large scale renovation and restoration of this building. I do not think that would look nice. I recognize that it is out there, but I think that solid masonry, a brick veneer, even if you're not trying to build that layer out with a full thickness of a brick, you can do brick veneers. I think that brick foundation would look the nicest by far. that's my 2 cents on that.
I would say that too, if you're gonna be doing some sort of foundation or fill. I could also see a version where there's just no fill at all
Well,
there, and that's the more contemporary approach, but
the building right across Lund
Here.
Terrace there
Mm-hmm.
has
Yeah,
a wooden
the-
porch,
With lattice.
has lattice.
So
Eh.
residential though.
Huh?
It's nice, it's so residential.
Okay, but I mean, we're talking about, the visual that we're dealing with.
It's
And-
also a
and I
maintenance thing
really-
too. I mean, Hudson House
Well,
has lots of
Todd,
lattice too.
I disagree with you because I think that we're dropping in brick in a location where there really isn't any brick.
Well, it would have been though, right? We established that on the other side of the building where there is some foundation that's not cinder block, it is brick.
I know, but that's going to be covered by the granite walkway.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but we're just established that
So
that
you're
is
really
the
not gonna
original
see very
material
well.
of the foundation. So
Where the foundation exists and is visible, where it is CMU cinder, do we think there needs to be a brick veneer continuous? So that it's not sort of unfinished, because the CMU right now needs to be repointed or it's falling apart in some places, like
There's
it's not.
One or two holes that have, someone backed something into it that have to be repaired. Other than that, it's painted and sealed and actually in good shape. So there's like one or two holes.
Dark gray.
Yeah, sort of like a greenish gray thing. Yeah.
All right, so have we given you enough feedback?
Well, I don't know.
you wanna know what
I
to do with the
started-
bottom.
Yeah, like I'm open to many different versions. I want to come back with the right version. If that makes sense.
Like all of us have such differing opinions on the material application of the
Mhm.
porch itself, that maybe that's an opportunity for Hudson Design and you to sort of contextually look at this building and make a proposal.
I mean, we've done the whole like street walk thing that led us towards, that did lead us towards stone based on some of the things that are out there. There are some that are brick with, slab, and there are some that are, I don't know, I guess maybe it's stucco, sort of like a cemented, just flat, no detail kind of a treatment. So I think all versions exist on Main Street. So I'm pretty open to all versions here as well. I think what I've gathered is maybe not the lattice work, like not deck plus lattice work is the least preferred option.
I don't.
But
Well,
I appreciate
I-
it for the building.
yeah, I disagree with that. I think that the lattice would probably be the most appropriate. You're talking about a wood frame and wood clapboard structure, and right across the street, you have exactly the same. It's a wood clad wood frame porch, and it's got a lattice enclosure underneath. So as far as I'm concerned, I would disagree with any stonework because that sort of, there's no reason for the stone to be there.
I mean, this is one of those where tomorrow I'll be on Main Street and I'll be looking at every single building to see like how this relates to that. I just need that.
But I think we are all saying no stone veneer.
No stone veneer.
No stone veneer, we're
So
saying a brick veneer might be possible depending on what your final design is, or maybe you prefer a lattice and maybe we could be convinced of that if we see the design.
Yeah.
And how the doors are treated and the railing and
Yeah.
stuff.
And just one more thing for the record, I'm looking at Google Maps right now. The building across the street, yes, is a clapboard building with a brick foundation, and there is a deck in front that is enclosed with lattice, but the foundation is exposed brick. So my feeling again is that the appropriate material for the exposed foundation is brick.
Oh, wait, Todd, can I double click there? Are you saying that for parts of the foundation, it should be brick, but on the porch piece,
It's lattice.
lattice?
I think it could, yeah, I would be,
Well, Well, I'll tell you, typically what we have found is that um, when we have lattice, usually we have brick piers holding up the porch.
Mhm.
So it could be a combination of brick piers with lattice infill.
Okay.
Not to extend this meeting or throw a wrench into this porch, that's specific for the stairs going to these double doors and not a larger porch, but if that is sort of the intervention and the entry sequence into this industrial space, is there an opportunity to have similar to the wrought iron, but like a very minimalist, modern
That's what I was
feel?
hoping for, but I don't know what the price tag on that is, if you're
Yeah,
doing it well, that would be beautiful. But I don't know if that's
Just to
possible.
make sure I'm like following the conclusion of the thought, I may not be fully in the same wavelength, like think as you two, but I'm not, I don't think I'm far. I think what you're saying is just an installed metal, both platform
Mhm.
with, that would have a metal railing, right? That matches, that has metal piers
Yeah.
going down to sort of foundational, sonotube type, sort of supports, right? With essentially a fully open underneath staircase kind of thing.
Yep, modern metal. In that case, again, I don't know how the others feel, but it could be a cable rail because this is just saying you don't like that. But it's saying like this is other than the building itself, and this is modern, and it's entering into a modern space.
But it, yeah, the details of that would have to be really worked out, well done, and it could get really expensive. So that is like, but that's like, if you want to have fun designing and have all the money in the world, that seems like a great solution, but I don't know, maybe the other one is with the.
Well,
brick.
but you have to remember, we're saving them a lot of money by eliminating other.
Spending a little money on a new door.
I will just say, I think this is going to cost me with the tenant. I don't think this is saving me cost to reduce the deck design and like. Just, I'm not negotiating otherwise. I'm just giving you the sort of like,
Will you share with them our concerns about the entry sequence and
Mhm.
the primary versus secondary doors and how we're not sure pedestrians would understand?
like
that?
understand.
Yeah,
the
like
flow.
we found it to be confusing
Yeah.
as an entrance,
Yeah, I think.
and like,
I think part of it, they didn't give me the fully designed sign, but like part of it is the sign sits here. That will be, again, subject to HDRB sort of approval, but that is the thing that I think partially sort of helps them do it. I don't know, Todd, you spoke before about like signages in like directional. I don't think, at least my discussions with them, there's been no discussion of directional signage. I think some of it, and it goes a little bit to some of the other conversation, is you can see it more on the vertical plan, but essentially by having a table and chairs here and a table, it sort of like tells people where to go.
Mhm.
There's sort of like all these other cues that are set up that say this is where to come and go. Just to
walk around a
Table.
even if it's
Yeah.
only 3 feet wide with chairs and that's 5 feet, you don't have there's not room to get a stroller past that
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
so I think that this solution, having the traffic go up and the gathering on a sort of more terraced
Mhm.
at grade level is more inviting and is more realistic with the flow inside. You walk up this way, go inside, take an order and come back out.
Yeah, I think that it needs to be uh, self-evident so that you're not dealing with signage. I think we have our own problems with signage.
I just wonder for them, and I don't know how well they read plans, but they likely have a furniture plan at this point and looking at furniture in the space, if they understand how there wouldn't.
I think the design is here. I think I gestured here, but like meaning people will sort of read this as like, oh, this is where I'm going to come in, not trying to use this for tables. As you started to explain dimensions, I realized like I didn't convey it properly.
Todd, any last thoughts?
No, I think we've covered it all.
We've beaten them into submission.
I think so. In my, yeah, yep. I think we're good. You guys, it's 10 o'clock there, so I bid you good night.
Okay. Good night, Todd.
Was it surfing? Oh,
Do you have any? Do you have any other questions?
I think I will, in this alternate pathway, the Bilko door remains a Bilko door.
Or
It may be that it's like a flat platform that is like, and this is a little bit more reminiscent, it really is like those sidewalk Bilko doors where like it's on, it is the part of the surface of the platform. In the case of brick piers, wood framing, lattice fill, the railing is what from a preference?
well, I mean, if you have wood lattice infill, then I would think that the railing would be wood. I think that, you know, it should be consistent with the stuff that you're dealing with. In other words, if you're looking to do a metal platform the way that Kate described it, and they're very industrial looking, then obviously you would have.
Yeah, then that railing, if that, the railing, I think is metal, or, yeah. But more if it's
If it,
wood deck with wood lattice fill,
Probably a wood railing.
yeah, I think.
probably wood railing, okay. I think in this modified thing, not speaking for them, but just having like spent a lot of time talking with them and sort of understanding the flow. I think that probably the next biggest thing that will be a challenge for them is only having one operable door here. And Todd mentioned part of it is the light aspect of like letting light come into the space. It is a very big space. It is a bit dark, and there isn't a lot of sort of windows. The south side has both tree cover and then not sort of windows that are like flowing into the space. And so if the proposal is sort of deck here, as we've just been stairs here, deck through here, is it possible to have, I mean, do we leave these doors? No, I think.
One door they have windows, the existing doors.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
sort of like
really.
upper sort of like 2x3s. Is it possible to have both, to go back to sort of like this flow where the doors swing open?
Well, if you're talking about light, I mean, look at the windows on the west facade.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of glass there. So I would think that it's not a question of how much light you get. It becomes a question of what is probably more intuitive as to how the doors work. In other words,
The
if you
physical flow.
if you come up, because obviously if everybody's coming up from the west side, then that first door is problematic because you have to open it up against yourself, right? In other words, how could you had somebody coming up the stairs arrive at that door and open it without having to step back?
Take a step around it, yeah.
Well, if this one was open though, and then this was an interior door that opened
So-
in, then that eliminates that.
Yeah,
Opening.
it opens in.
And then this door is just fixed.
So
Yeah,
this door, so it becomes only one glass door
Mhm.
that swings in.
Mhm.
right.
And this one is an operable wood door. And this is a fixed, not non-operable wood door with essentially for sort of like air sealing, I think I have to like seal the wall. Like I'm permanently sealing the door. Essentially building a wall on the interior.
Orange glass light, so it's the interior is a glass door and a glass light.
So glass door swinging inside this way, and interior glass light.
Meaning
The
it's
in
like
swing
all-
door or something to lock into and help with HVAC.
Yeah.
So they be at the same plane.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was like trying to think through. Thank you.
And then that, I think architecturally would, again, allow for like existing building and modern intervention that sort of double layering to help explain things.
Mhm. And then what is this door like?
That,
I mean, there isn't one there now, but
Just a window,
Yeah.
like nondescript and just blends into the facade. It could be full glass, or it could be upper half, they serve glass light. I'm not sure if others have an opinion. Something that's pretty mundane, utilitarian.
Sorry, I'm just looking for the
and
photo of the building.
and then just while you're doing that, and then this piece, if it is sort of flat,
Great, yeah.
that's sort of at grade. By the time it gets here to the Bilko doors, I think that probably does demand a railing.
30 inches, up to 30 inches, you don't need a rail.
Oh, maybe,
What,
yeah, maybe it is that high.
That seems high, and I know sometimes I think, oh, there's the kid that's gonna like, that's
Right,
all
but yeah,
backwards,
yeah.
but it might,
On Liberty Street.
I know, I see a lot of that here. I did a project in Oregon once where we
I
got
think
as
it was
close
like-
as we could
I
to
think
it.
it's like, the height has to be 2'6".
So that's 30. Right, yeah. Yeah. So then this platform here is possibly lower than,
But why would you have a platform there?
we're seeing.
I think like
So they
the
can
idea
put
is,
furniture without it falling over.
yeah,
What?
right.
So they can have a table there without it falling over. And a chair without people.
Yeah, so maybe we sort of cut in here-ish,
yeah.
Oh, that's
maybe
a-
cut in
that's an interesting
down
idea.
further.
sort of try to go so that it's like lower than this. It's sort of like you have these steps up,
Yeah.
and then there's this lower section here
and just create the space.
that comes over to here-ish.
But they,
I feel
but
like we
then,
have to follow this line though for the.
Yeah.
yeah, but then the Bilko door it's at an angle, right?
But they make, they make ones that are like, flat, like sort of sidewalk style. I'm not.
And maybe you base the height off of where
The Bilko door.
the structure of Bilko door already is, yeah, where
Yeah.
the Bilko door needs to be. So there's a little cut and fill happening.
That seems really inviting, actually, rather than like a porch full of people.
It's more great, yeah.
It's more like engaging.
It's an entry fee. But again, we're not your marketing.
But we all live here. We all go to Angie's. We want to still go to Angie's.
Getting over the.
Yeah.
Help you pick out the
Right,
chin.
We all want for their success. I want to contribute towards it. Okay. I think I do have, I think I've got all my questions. If possible, is it allowable for me to like email if I find variations on things, image, sort of things, so that I can just in the interest of time, when I come before you, I've like gotten feedback on, hey, does this sort of work?
I think the best way to
Mhm.
do this, and really the most expeditious way to do it, is for you to come back at
Good.
our monthly meeting as a workshop
Mhm.
with all of your things.
Mhm.
We tighten it up. And then we can have you, we can schedule a special
Special
meeting,
meeting for the vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
right? We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can. We can do that.
Thank you all. I really do appreciate, especially both the time, but the dedication, the care, and this is what I was talking to my team about before. Like, I appreciate that you do this, whether I'm in front of you or not. I appreciate that you do this. I do consider this an important thing. I am a believer in I love living here in part because you do what you do.
Well,
Because it's a red.
you have to understand, and my wife will attest to this, that providing a bakery that close to my house
It's dangerous.
is
It's
dangerous.
not good for your health.
Well, you gotta get your carbs.
Dogs that will help me, they added. About if you do. That's about it.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Who seconded it?
I first did it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, and Todd, I thought Todd had picked up. Take care,
Oh,
sir.
no, I'm still here.
Sorry, I
All right,
wasn't.
good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. I very much appreciate it. Happy New Year. And I will see you next week. I think next Tuesday.